You talk about like Jim Carrey the man, Jim Carrey the performer. Are you more comfortable as one or the other, or is that are they even mutually exclusive?
I don't exist.
Jim Carrey's face made waves at the 2026 César Film Awards ceremony in Paris, France, and I'm sure you all remember the controversy surrounding the event, the main issue being that Jim Carrey looked completely unrecognizable. And the bizarre thing about this case is that it was never truly solved or understood, and considering the extensive media coverage, the fact that we never heard anything conclusive seems unusual. While we may have never gotten a true explanation as to what happened to Jim's face, I think the key to understanding this controversy is to look somewhere that many of us failed to: Jim's personality. Jim Carrey is one of the most unique celebrity actors to have ever lived, and I think that many of the anomalies surrounding this case can be explained by looking at who Jim is as a person, the evolution of his life, and his past. To recap, in February of 2026, Jim Carrey attended the 51st year of the César Film Awards ceremony. He was in attendance to receive an honorary César Award, which is the highest honor an international talent can receive at the French festival. Nominees are backed by the French Ministry of Culture, and Carrey's work has long been praised by French media and film critics who view his unique acting style as a form of high art. Fans cherish his work in films like Ace Ventura, The Mask, Dumb and Dumber, Bruce Almighty, The Truman Show, and so many others. These movies are timeless, and Carrey's expressive and boisterous acting style made them into the classic films they are today. In short, this was a big deal for Jim Carrey. The award was supposed to be a celebration of his life's work and a long, successful career of making people laugh. However, as you all know, the focus of the evening wound up being something completely unrelated to the award or the festival itself.
Marc-François Carré, oui, Carré, quitté Saint-Malo en France pour le Canada.
This is not Jim Carrey, and when the photos dropped, it seemed that everyone had come to the same conclusion. The controversy spread so fast to the point where news organizations could hardly keep up. Everything was bloated, his cheekbones were puffy and exaggerated, and everything about his face appeared to be a completely different one to the Jim Carrey we all know and love. Even his eye color appeared to be an entirely different shade. Fans speculated on all sorts of theories as to what happened, including plastic surgery, old age, and illness. One major conspiracy theory was that Jim was taken out by a group of Hollywood elites and replaced with a clone. Another stated that a makeup artist created advanced prosthetics to pose as Jim's double during the event. Jim's publicist was quick to dismiss the controversy in the week following the event, offering no explanation whatsoever about the clear difference in his face. Jim Carrey attended the César Awards, where he accepted his honorary César Award. That's it. No mention of plastic surgery, no mention of an illness, and no acknowledgement of the questions being asked surrounding Jim's face. Then an interview surfaced from the event featuring a clip of Carrey talking to journalists.
Benjamin Laverne was off the hook. I mean, I can't believe he committed to doing all that. I was really, is this about someone else? My favorite funny face is the one I'm wearing right now.
This is weird. While I could go on about all of the conspiracies surrounding Jim's face, that is not what this video is about. Because there is another angle to this case that nobody seems to be talking about. It's about Jim himself, and to understand what really happened to Jim's face, we need to understand some of the context behind Jim's life up until this point. Jim Carrey, in contrast to the character he plays, is actually a very troubled and deeply thoughtful individual.
I understood suddenly. Thought is responsible for, if not all, most of the suffering we experience. And I wondered, who is it that's aware that I'm thinking? And suddenly I was thrown into this expansive, amazing feeling of freedom from myself, from my problems. I saw that I was bigger.
Some of you may already be aware of this side of Jim Carrey, as he has been outspoken about the impact of his spiritual and mystical beliefs for quite some time now. But the enlightened state Jim is describing here is not something that happened overnight. Much of Jim's early life and career can be summed up with one word: despair. Jim Carrey was born in Newmarket, Ontario on January 17, 1962, and Carrey's exposure to the mystical would start as soon as he entered the world. He was born to a Roman Catholic family and spent his entire upbringing practicing the Roman Catholic faith. His family scraped by on his father's meager income from his accounting job, and this low-level poverty is what drove Jim to have his first personal experience with the mystical.
I had a substitute teacher from Ireland in the 2nd grade that told my class during morning prayer that when she wants something, anything at all, she prays for it, and she always gets what she wants. Well, I'm sitting at the back of the classroom thinking, wow, my family can't afford a bike. So I went home and I prayed for one. And I promised I would recite the rosary every night in exchange. Broke that promise. But 2 weeks later, I got home from school to find a brand new Mustang bike with a banana seat and Easy Rider handlebars. Yeah. My family informed me that I had won the bike in a raffle that a friend of mine had entered my name in without my knowledge whatsoever.
This early experience laid the groundwork for Jim's personal and spiritual development. However, this did not mean that Jim would have it easy. His family would later plunge into extreme poverty when his father lost his accounting job when Carrey was only 12, leading the family to eventually become homeless and forcing Jim to work long hours after school doing dirty jobs to support the family's income. He first tried his hand at stand-up comedy at age 15, but his performance bombed in a crowd that didn't care for Jim's celebrity impressions and wanted something raunchier. His family's growing financial pains forced Jim to drop out of school at age 16 to work as a full-time janitor. Only 3 years after this, he moved to Los Angeles by himself with no money and slept in his car while continuing to bomb. This period of hardship left Jim with nothing. He was depressed, hopeless, and struggling to find work in acting or comedy, the things that he loved so dearly. This combination of factors forced Jim's attention back towards his spirituality, and Jim decided he was going to become successful using the same technique he used to get his bicycle in the 2nd grade.
Do y'all read about this or hear this? That you used to go up on Mulholland Drive and park
every night
and visualize seeing yourself as...
Yeah, I would visualize,
This is when you were broke and poor.
You know, right, having directors interested in me and people that I respected saying, I like your work or whatever that is. And at that time, all it really was for me was kind of making me feel better. I would drive home and think, well, I do have these things. They're out there. I just don't have a hold of them yet, but they're out there.
This ritual began in 1982, and these late-night drives where Carrey affirmed his place in the world became something that Jim would do for the next several years. The affirmations he would repeat while doing this proved an escape from his failing career and a hope for something better. Everybody wants to work with me. I'm a really good actor. I have all kinds of great movie offers. But Jim's powerful vision of his future wouldn't stop there. And in 1985, Jim was about to do something that would end up being what I believe to be one of the most powerful moves of manifestation ever seen.
So didn't you write yourself a check? I heard that you did. Is that true?
I wrote myself a check for $10 million for acting services rendered, and I dated it Thanksgiving 1995.
Jim Carrey had 10 years to fulfill the goal of the check he wrote in 1985. In the meantime, Jim continued his ritual of driving and saying affirmations every night. And after several years of his career going nowhere, Jim Carrey started to pick up momentum. In 1992, Jim signed the contract for Ace Ventura: Pet Detective for $400,000. Then, The Mask, $500,000. But this was only the beginning, as believe it or not, Jim was about to see his dream come true in the most extravagant way possible.
Just before Thanksgiving 1995, I found out that I was going to make $10 million on, I think it was Dumb and Dumber. Maybe.
Dumb and Dumber, yeah. So you visualize yourself like... Visualization works if you work hard.
If Jim had any questions about his spiritual beliefs, this event quashed them. Just before Jim's self-imposed deadline, he signed on to Dumb and Dumber for exactly $10 million, Jim's first multi-million-dollar contract and his entry into superstardom, the beginning of a lifelong acting career. So, what does this have to do with his face? Well, whether or not you believe in the mystical, Jim Carrey does not discount the effect of his spiritual endeavors on the outcome of his career.
As far as I can tell, it's just about letting the universe know what you want and working toward it while letting go of how it comes to pass.
Jim's spiritual nature is a defining characteristic of his personality. He is constantly speculating about his place in the world, his identity, the nature of existence, and most importantly of all, what he can teach others based off his own spiritual experiences. Jim has explained this message in a variety of different ways in the past, and it seems to evolve each time. However, in recent years, Jim has focused on one particular revelation that has come about after years of soul-searching. And in my opinion, this is the key to understanding Jim's face at the 2026 Cesar Awards.
I don't exist. So they're all characters that I've played, including Jim Carrey, including Joel Barish, including any of those things. They're all characters. Jim Carrey was a less intentional character.
Right.
Because I thought I was just building something that people would like, but it was a character.
That's it. This statement cannot be dismissed with regard to this case. Jim Carrey is a thinking man. They're all characters. Jim first had this exact thought as his acting career began to reach a crescendo. In 1999, when working on the film The Man on the Moon, Jim completely lost his identity. In his attempt to give an accurate on-screen portrayal of famous American entertainer Andy Kaufman, Jim found himself completely enveloping the character. But in stark contrast to his previous roles, this character followed him. He found himself playing the character 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, at home, in the grocery store, and everywhere else. Where he walked, Andy Kaufman walked with him. And while this wouldn't be the first time an actor has lost themselves playing a role, Jim is the only actor to ask the question, why? And after a significant amount of soul-searching throughout his time working on the film, Jim could only be led to one conclusion. Jim Carrey is a character. Everything that Jim has built around his persona, every aspect and nuance to his personality, his career, his style, was all just part of a character. Jim's uncanny talent for expressiveness led to him expressing himself as the ultimate character, Jim Carrey. And I don't think you have to be a famous Hollywood actor to be able to understand this idea on a personal level. If you go back through all of Jim Carrey's roles, from comedic to dramatic to everything else in between, the shape of Jim Carrey is present within them all. Underneath the mask, the gallons of makeup and the Grinch costume, or the completely enveloping, believable character of Truman Burbank, we see the animated, expressive character of Jim Carrey within them all. It is a profound statement for him to say that one's personality may simply be a character they are playing, and I think this is something that all of us can relate to on a personal level. When you go to work and interact with your coworkers, you're playing a character. When you're drinking at the bar with your friends and go out for a night on the town, you're playing a character. When you interact with the clerk at the grocery store, you're playing a character. All of us morph and change our personalities to fit a situation, a group of people, or even our own ideas about who we are. Whether or not we want to admit it, we are all playing our own characters and our own stories. And like Jim, most of us are probably trying to create something that people might like. Jim has been in and out of retirement for several years now, and I believe this revelation to be the primary reason. Jim Carrey is tired of playing Jim Carrey. To everyone. To the media, to his fans. As Carrey has aged, his identity has aged with him, and perhaps Jim Carrey is simply not a character that Jim wants to play anymore. So if you clicked on this video, you're probably something like me. I thought it was extremely bizarre when Jim came out at the 2026 Cesar Awards, looking and sounding completely different, carrying himself with a different poise. I looked into all the conspiracies, bought into some, tossed some aside in the burn pile, and I once even believed myself that he was taken out and cloned by Hollywood elites who saw his authenticity as a threat. But we all forgot to look at the most important piece, Jim himself. Maybe Jim has reached a state of enlightenment that many of us are already striving for in our day-to-day lives. Maybe caving in to getting plastic surgery, as many celebrities often do, is a way of shedding his old skin and becoming somebody new. The end of the movie. The end of the character Jim Carrey. And as the credits of his story roll, the fans that love the Jim Carrey they all know are simply not ready to turn off the TV and start living again. Jim said he was trying to create something that people liked, and I believe that. And for what it's worth, he accomplished his goal. He is one of the most beloved comedic actors on Earth, which is why, in hindsight, a controversy like this seems so superficial compared to the rest of Jim's life and career. And maybe Jim feels the same way, which is why he never formally acknowledged the controversy himself. Maybe he's achieved something we're all striving for ourselves, to tune out the noise and simply exist as who we are without trying to give a performance. Maybe, throughout this whole controversy, we were all too engrossed in the real-life movie Jim Carrey was starring in, and in our fruitless attempts to look for the plot holes, we completely forgot about the true man, Jim Carrey. And maybe, just maybe, he was just wearing colored contacts.
You want another slice?
No, I'm okay.
What else is on?
Yeah, let's see what else.
Where's the TV guide? And I be doing it to death, and now I move a little foul. Nigga better call a rap, and everybody know my style. Niggas know that I'm the best when it come to doing this. And I be banging on my chest, and I bang in the east, and I banging in the west. And I kinda give you more, and I would never give you less. You will hear it in the street, and you can read it in the press. Do you really wanna know what's next? Let's go. See the way we on it, and we all up in the race. And you know we gotta go now, try to keep up with the pace. And we struggling and hustling to set it, and to get it, and we always gotta do it, take it to another place. Gotta taste it, and I gotta grab it, and I gotta cut all